2013, and there was only supposed to be 12. Oh, there you sorry. Okay. Hello, and welcome to The Jib. This bi-weekly podcast is about the many and varied schemes of the many and varied US law enforcement and intelligence agencies, organizations, and committees, and how they are both stupid and funny. Join us on our merry journey through space and time. Hi, my name is Barry. You might know me from my Christmas album, available now, called It's Beginning to Look a Lot Like Fuck This.
All the hits included. All the hits,
yeah.
Yeah.
Jingle Balls.
Jingle Balls.
Christmas albums.
Hi, everybody. I'm Seamus, and you may know me from the docu-series Maintenance of the Fourth Wall.
Maintenance of the Fourth Wall.
Yeah.
Okay. I have to wonder what that would look like. How exactly would one maintain the fourth wall?
It keeps getting broke. You gotta, keep it.
Let me tell you about the fourth wall. Okay. But we're not here to discuss meta. We're here to discuss Laos. I'm not sure how to pronounce it. Wikipedia is also confused. Laos or Lao. I think the people there just call it Lao. But
I've been called it Laos from time to time, so
other people call it Laos. Well, some countries have what's called an endonym, which is a word you use to describe the country when you live there. And other countries, and some countries sometimes, if I can get my words in the correct order, have an exonym, which is what you call the country if you live outside it. So the classic example is Germany. If you're an English-speaking person, you say Germany, and they say Deutschland.
Right.
And in France, they call it Allemagne.
Oh.
And in other places, they call it Nimchi, I think. Poland, they call it Nimchi, something like that.
What about Ireland?
Anyway, Ireland calls it Germany. We all speak English here.
No, like what do you
in
call
Australia?
Ireland?
We call Éire.
Era.
But we just call it Ireland. But the Irish for Ireland is Éire, and the Irish for Germany is on Garamond.
Oh.
So nobody ever uses that. They just say Germany.
Wonder why.
Yeah. Well, this is Lao or Laos, right?
Right.
It's a kingdom in Southeast Asia, right next to Vietnam. No problems there, then. Which was more or less created by this country was more or less created by the French during their occupation of Indochina, or as they called it, Indochine. The French didn't rate it very highly.
The French were occupiers.
I know, right?
They were just nice people.
They just came over to bring civilization to the savages of the jungle, right?
Come on, you need to smoke and drink.
Exactly.
Hey, it's brunch. Well, my French turned into a bad Italian. I'm sorry.
Il faut to avoir le pain du baguette. The French did not rate Laos very highly because it didn't have much in the way of natural resources. Now, when I do these scripts, I try and go zip through a quick history of the background, so we're not completely jumping in, For political and economic reasons, the French strongly encouraged Vietnamese people to migrate to Laos to live and work there. And if it wasn't for the Japanese invasion of Indochina, Laos may have become a part of Greater Vietnam. And there is an argument to the effect that this is kind of what happened anyway. During World War II...
Was it migrate for them, like their own well-being to go work? Or was it... There's too many Vietnam people in Vietnam for the French.
No. I think they were just trying to populate Laos with Vietnamese people.
Okay.
They wanted to be I think they were trying to make a greater sort of French colonial project there.
And saw migration as opposed to occupation, the way to do it.
Yeah. But Laos today does still have a lot of Vietnamese people in it. But they're not really... Well, you'll see. During World War II, the French lost control of Laos to Japan, but they got it back again. And that's the degree to which I summarize these scripts, by the way. Okay, during World War II, the French lost control of Laos to Japan, but they got it back again, is one sentence. Laos was an integral part of the unsettled political situation in Vietnam. After the Geneva Conference. Soviet-backed communist forces were fighting royalist forces for the king, meaning royalist forces for control of Laos. At the same time, the American-backed forces were fighting the communist Viet Cong in Vietnam. The Vietnamese communists were also using various parts of Laos to run supply lines from North to South Vietnam. This was called the Ho Chi Minh Trail and was technically a violation of the Vietnamese commitments at the Geneva Conference to keep both Laos and Cambodia neutral. They were supposed to keep Laos and Cambodia neutral, and they did not, the Vietnamese. So that's something Ho Chi Minh definitely did not abide by. But in his defense, the Americans, I guess, have also known to violate the Geneva the conference stipulations as well in the Vietnam War. In other words...
It doesn't apply to us.
Yeah. In other words, the communist Laotians were active in the north and the communist Vietnamese were active in the south. It was seen as a puppet state for two separate communist armies. And in the words of U.S. Secretary of State Dean Rusk, who was Secretary of State for pretty much the entire 60s, Laos was only the wart on the hog, right? They didn't give a shit about it. The French didn't, the Americans didn't, right? Laos had no chance, right? And before we get into it, I'm gonna give you a list of the top countries with the most unexploded ordnance, UXO, in no particular order. This is that is Sign in Thailand, which UXO is what they call unexploded ordnance. So apparently that starts with an X.
Would you like music for this or not music this time?
If it's too whimsical, it's going to be jarring.
Okay, fair enough. Let's just jump in.
Okay, these are not in any particular order. I'm just going to read them out. Most of these came from Wikipedia. Some of it didn't. Egypt, North Africa, has 23 million unexploded bombs. 23 million unexploded bombs. North Africa, and in particular the desert areas of the Sahara, is heavily mined with serious consequences for the local population. Okay. Iran, 16 million mines. Despite landmine risk reduction programs and extensive demining activities on the western border of Iran, landmines and unexploded ordnance still cause civilian and child casualties 3 decades after the Iran-Iraq War, which went from 1980 to 1988. That might be something else we talk about in the future, the Iran-Iraq War. Very interesting.
One of these is too many.
Yeah.
We're talking millions? Millions.
16 million mines, yeah.
Jesus fucking
unexploded
Christ.
ordnance and mines. It is insane in Iran. Afghanistan, 10 million UXO. According to The Guardian, an English newspaper, since 2001, coalition forces have dropped about 20,000 tons of ammunition on Afghanistan, with an estimated 10% of munitions not detonated. Despite the removal of 16.5 million items since mine clearing programs were established in 1989 after the Soviet withdrawal, MACA and its predecessors, MACA is the name of the organization that the Afghans set up to get rid of the mines, and its predecessors have recorded 22,000 casualties in the same period. Like, we're just living in a different world where you don't have to worry about mines, you know? And by the way, just to explain, some of these numbers mightn't add up exactly, but it's very difficult to get reliable numbers on these things because for obvious reasons, right?
But this is actually, you know, the way we would, you know, explain this as Americans is it's a job creation program. You see,
it creates minesweepers.
Yeah, think about it. And if a few of those people get killed, more jobs. You know, we're spreading democracy, Barry.
Yeah,
you know,
in their
defense,
the U.S. does fund mine clearing programs in some of these countries in their defense, I guess, if you want to see that as a good thing. And they also separately fund the U.S. as part of a group of countries that fund mine clearing organizations. Yeah. So it's not like they're completely ignoring their responsibilities, I guess. It's just fuck them, right?
We also make the bombs.
I know, yeah. The calls come from inside the house, isn't it?
Yeah.
Where are we? Angola, which is in the bottom, what do you call this? The word for bottom left. Southwest of Africa, has 10 million UXO. The exact number of landmines and UXO that contaminate the ground is unknown, and there are still areas where no information is available about these threats, which is true of all these things. More than 85,000 people were injured through mine-related accidents, and many thousands were killed. It's just insane. China has 10 million bombs. According to Wikipedia, by the way, China has 10 million bombs unexploded, but I couldn't find any more information about it that I wanted to share. So if anybody can find information about the Chinese unexploded ordnance situation, please feel free to share it with me, because I would like to know. Iraq, which is next to Iran on this side, 10 million bombs. Iraq is widely contaminated with unexploded remnants of war from the Iran-Iraq War, which, as I said, ran from 1980 to 1988, the Gulf War, which ran from 1990 to 1991, the Iraq War, which ran from 2003 to 2011, and the Iraqi Civil War, which ran from 2014 to 2017. And they didn't realize it was a civil war until halfway through it, by the way. They thought it was an insurgency. The UXO in Iraq poses a particularly serious threat to civilians, as millions of cluster bomb munitions were dropped in towns and densely populated areas by coalition forces, mostly in the first weeks of the 2003 invasion of Iraq. 30% of the munitions failed to detonate on impact, and small unexploded bombs are regularly found in and around homes in Iraq, frequently maiming or killing civilians. From 1991 to 2009, an estimated 8,000 people were killed or maimed by cluster bomblets alone, 2,000 of whom were children.
Jesus.
But they're only Iraqi children, so no one gives a shit.
Well, you know, these were supposed to be, you know, strategically precision-based bombs.
Smart
bombs, yeah.
Well, 30% of them didn't detonate.
Remember seeing, I don't know if you saw this, but over here they kept on trying to explain it, and they would show this like terrible like CGI for the day, right?
Yeah.
Of like a bomb going in and then going
Yes.
in a ventilation system,
Yeah.
and like boom, take it out of the target. Like that never fucking happened.
No, what happens is the bomb drops. It does nothing. It just clanks metal on the ground, and 20 years later, it kills an Iraqi child.
Yeah. Or if it does go off, it takes off a fucking city block.
Yes, full of civilians.
It kills the target, maybe, and dozens of civilians. Yeah. Fucking ridiculous.
Laos, of course, more on this later. Cambodia, 7 million. Cambodia has 40,000 amputees, which is one of the highest rates in the world. The Chinese-made landmines in Cambodia were placed by the Cambodian factions, which clashed during the civil war in the 1970s and 1980s. And Cambodia is something we might talk about in the future. Kuwait, good old Kuwait again.
Yeah.
5 million. The Kuwait Environmental Remediation Project is estimated to have a budget in the region of 20 million. So I guess they have lots of mines there. Vietnam, 3.5 million. In Vietnam, 800,000 tons of landmines and unexploded ordnance is buried in the land and the mountains. I don't know why it says in the mountains as if it wasn't the land. From 1975 to 2015, up to 100,000 people have been injured or killed by bombs left over from the Second Indochina War. 100,000 people. And as ever, we have a bonus round in our top whatever. In the aftermath of the 2006 war between Israel and Lebanon, it is estimated that southern Lebanon is littered with 1 million undetonated cluster bombs. 1 million undetonated cluster bombs. Jesus. Approximately 1.5 bombs per Lebanese person who lives there, dropped by the IDF in the last days of the war. Right? So I don't know when this is.
Isn't the use of cluster bombs deemed a war crime?
Oh, the IDF is the most moral army in the world. Did you not hear that? They would never blanket bomb a place just because they feel that would be wrong.
Yeah.
They certainly aren't doing it now in Gaza. Right. So now that's our top whatever, because we don't have an ad this week. You get a top blah. That was the top blah.
Top blah.
Top blah. Between 1964 and 1973, the CIA oversaw a bombing campaign in Laos, first called Operation Steel Tiger, and then called Operation Barrel Roll.
Why the change? What was wrong with Steel Tiger, man?
I could not find why they changed it. Maybe Steel Tiger sounded a bit more aggressive, and they're trying to not Barrel Roll is more sort of way, where Steel Tiger is. I don't know.
Barrel roll sounds like something I'd order at the sushi bar.
Yeah, have a barrel roll.
Yeah, California roll. I don't think what's in the barrel roll.
Yeah. The campaign was conducted in secret, with the US government denying its involvement in Laos to the international community, which is standard operating procedure, but also from Congress and the American public. Now, Congress do not like being cut out of these affairs. Pilots were trained.
Is that sorry, but is that the reason for the name change? Really, you think? So, like, if some of the guys were talking, if they said Steel Tiger, people would be like, "Ooh, what's going on? Can you tell me more?" But if you hear Barrel Roll, you're like,
that sounds like a kind of low-level funding project in the Midwest.
Yeah, it's like a barrel.
This was not
pork spending.
Yes, pork spending. Yeah, I guess a bridge somewhere got built. Probably safe, right?
Yeah.
Pilots were trained for the Royal Laos Air Force in a secret CIA USAF program called Project Water Pump, which was located in Thailand. However, they had trouble doing this because
the names are getting worse.
Oh, there's more names. Project Water Pump, located in Thailand. However, they found it hard to produce more pilots than died in combat. They had a very high attrition rate. Yeah, Project Water Pump was I guess a failure, depending on what your goals are. The man directing
because the water pump has nothing to do with the sky. It's the
water. No.
If this was like training pilots for submarine, then.
But I guess if Congress overheard that, they would be actively dissuaded from asking questions. Project Water Pump. Okay, just do it.
Yeah, it's another. Yeah.
The man directing this whole campaign was the U.S. ambassador in Laos, a guy called William H. Sullivan, that's an Irish name, who had to balance. Who's, in fairness to him, he had to balance the interests of the CIA, the United States Air Force (USAF), the government in Thailand, and the Royalist Army of Laos, all while the Vietnam War was going on in the country next door, with very little experience. So he was put in charge of this. Now, as an aside, which is not related to this, later, when he was the U.S. ambassador to Iran in 1979, possibly the worst year to be an ambassador to Iran, the White House asked Sullivan about the possibility of another CIA coup there. And Sullivan says, "Tell Brzezinski to fuck off." That's the quote. And when the White House said this was not a helpful comment...
This guy needs to be on Morning Joe now.
I know, right? Tell Brzezinski to fuck out a different position. When the White House said this was not a helpful comment, he asked them if they wanted him to translate "fuck off" into Polish for him, and he hung up. Now,
my hero.
Right? If you want to know more about who Brzezinski is, check out our episode called Operation Cyclone, which will tell you all about him. And if you want to know more about what was going on in Iran before this to create the phrase, the possibility of another CIA coup there, check out our episode Operation Ajax. Both of those will explain those to you.
Yeah, now, Operation Barrel is related to Mika Brzezinski, as in that's her dad.
Yes, you told me that during Operation Cyclone. I did not know. I didn't connect the dots on that at all. As you will be aware if you saw that episode, and if you didn't watch the episode. Operation Barrel Roll was a total mess, of course, as it was entirely an air-based operation, meaning there was no ground troops or anything like that. The monsoon season throughout the years dictated the schedule. The planes would drop their bombs in the dry season, and the communist forces would advance during the rainy season, so nothing was really happening. The pilots were given specific rules of engagement, but these rules changed all the time and did almost nothing to prevent civilian casualties, and there was nobody really enforcing them anyway. The recon was also all over the place. The first attempts to scout targets were conducted by 4 regular sergeants with 0 flight experience who were called butterflies after their call signs.
Butterflies?
That's what they were called, the butterflies, yeah.
Jesus.
When the informal nature of the recon flights was discovered by USAF in 1966, they immediately terminated the program and replaced it with Operation Palace Dog.
What?
The USAF operation, which at least used qualified pilots, so it's an improvement, right?
Palace Dog?
Palace Dog is what they call the operation to scout locations to bomb in Laos, yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Also, as already mentioned, these flights were under the control of the ambassador and not USAF. This, of course, drove USAF crazy, but the pilots were happy enough with the loose organization because it meant they could get more done without having to worry about the admin. Now, whenever military people tell you that they're happy they can get more done without having to worry about the admin, you have a problem, right? Whenever military people are happy about anything, you have a problem. They're supposed to be kind of on a low grumble level. That means things are working correctly.
Yeah.
If the military people are just a little bit unhappy all the time, that's good. Now, by 1970, having constantly pounded by these fucking bombs, Laos was in rough shape. A CIA report said, about the most positive thing that can be said about Laos is that it still exists as a non-communist state.
Holy fuck.
This tells you a lot. That one sentence tells you a lot about the CIA opinion of Laos. It tells you 3 separate things that I'm not going to tell you, because about the most positive thing that can be said about Laos is that it still exists as a non-communist state. Okay. Things took a dramatic turn in 1971 with the publication of the Pentagon Papers in the New York Times. And we might talk about that in the future again. Which revealed that Lyndon Johnson's government systematically lied not only to the public but to Congress, which, as we said, is the real crime. In 1970, which was the year before, Nixon reluctantly admitted to, there he is, the secret war. There's the 2 boys having a laugh. Look at him there. And directed Kissinger, who's the other guy, to make some statements. Kissinger claimed that no American stationed in Laos has ever been killed in ground combat operations. 2 days later, it emerged that a U.S. Army captain had been killed while fighting in Laos, and subsequently the Pentagon admitted to many more. Kissinger claimed that he had not. Claimed that he had not lied, because all Americans killed in Laos were in hot pursuit when chasing the enemy from South Vietnam. Nixon said to him, this was not a public thing, he said. Nixon said, no one cares about the B-52 strikes in Laos, but people worry about our boys out there, right? So this is, again, telling you something. Nixon also refused to...
he's not wrong. That's
no, he's
exactly
not wrong,
how
and that's
people
kind of
look
sad.
at it.
Yeah, that is, and that's really, I'll be honest, let's be fair, that is not an American problem. That's a human problem.
Yeah, it's fucked up.
And Nixon was angry because he dropped 11 percentage points, apparently, in the polls, and he blamed Kissinger's cack-handed statement for it.
You're fucked up, Hank. You're fucked up.
Yeah, fucked up, Hank. Yeah, he refused to see Kissinger for the next week. You know?
That'll learn him.
That'll teach him.
I'm sore at him. He can fuck off.
Well, my pie is awful sore. Okay. Despite the secrecy surrounding the operation, it was a significant military campaign. From 1964 to 1973, U.S. aircraft dropped more than 2.5 million tons of bombs on Laos. Think about 2.5 million tons of anything. Never mind bombs. I mean, if they said they dropped 2.5 million tons of Lego, that would still be weird, right? That would be bad. Anyway,
it must be just as damaging. I mean, Legos fuck you up, man. You step on some Legos, that's some fucking pain.
Well, I mean, when you
Yeah.
see the amount of unexploded ordnance, it would have been
Right?
about as damaging, yeah.
Probably would have done more harm.
Making it the most heavily bombed country in history per capita. That's around the same number of bombs the US dropped on all of Europe and Asia during all the years of World War II. So think about that. The New York Times said it amounts to nearly a ton of bombs for every person in Laos. I've been pronouncing this place Laos for about 40 years, right? So this is why I accidentally said Laos. I meant Laos. Or 80 bombs for every person in Laos. I've been mispronouncing that word for decades. It's very recently I discovered I've been mispronouncing it.
5 million tons. I mean, that's a hell of a surplus that was just sitting around that we had to hurry up and get rid of, right? I mean, it's a real Black Friday sale, right?
Yeah, and because it's a secret operation, like, how do you secretly get 2.5 million tons of bombs past Congress? I guess, nearly a ton of bombs for every person in Laos. A ton for every person. Yeah, I think you got them, mate. You got them.
Yeah.
Okay, got them.
And if you didn't, then what the fuck?
Yeah, keep throwing bombs at them. Well, the Lyndon Johnson strategy was sometimes let's do more of it, which in Vietnam didn't work and obviously didn't work in Laos. The bombing campaign caused significant damage to infrastructure and civilian areas, to state the obvious, and estimates suggest that between 30,000 and 300,000, this is the problem with numbers, it's just difficult to tell, Laotian civilians were killed or injured. Approximately 20% of the Laotian population became refugees. I'm not surprised.
Yeah, get the fuck out of Dodge. You won't get a fucking bomb.
Fuck out of Dodge, yeah.
At least they have a place to go, like some other people that can't go anywhere. Anyways.
Yeah. Well, no, the Israelis did tell them in advance, you need to leave. So where are we going to go? You've locked the gates. Anyway, Operation Barrel Roll destroyed relations between the US and all their potential allies in Laos. Even their people who were working with them in Laos didn't like the fact that their whole country was being blanket bombed. In 1975, the Pathet Lao, which is the communist faction in Laos, in 1975, the Pathet Lao overthrew the royalist government, forcing the king to abdicate in 1975. He later died under suspicious circumstances in a re-education camp, which is something that happened in Vietnam and Laos. The re-education camp is a...
Yeah. You say re-education, I say concentration.
Have re-education camps. It's not good. We would not want anyone to take from this that we think the communists are like angels. Okay.
Well, and it's I always find it funny whenever they say camp, because it's it's a fun weekend.
It would have been a prison.
Yeah.
Basically, he died under suspicious circumstances. Like, there's no point in lying about it. Like, he'll tell the truth. The communists had him killed. Okay. Extrajudicially. Now, 30% of the 270 million cluster munitions dropped on Laos remain unexploded, as you will see from this sign.
Oh, you expect me to bring up a picture now, don't you? Is that the cue?
There you go. That's the Lao. The previous one we saw was the Thailand one. This is the Lao one. And you see in English it says danger UXO, meaning unexploded ordnance. And the top, I assume it says the same thing, Laotian. My Laotian has been rusty, unfortunately, like that sign. So I do not know if that's what it says, but I'm going to guess. 30% of the 270 million. Jesus, I mean, when you say something like 270 million, it's almost a number that your brain refuses to register. It's almost like, oh, that's a number. But there's 270 million cluster munitions cluster munitions dropped on Laos, remain unexploded.
They're playing at the coffee house this weekend. So.
They are. About 80 million bomblets, which are locally called bommies. This is what they call them. And this is the bommies. Bombers. They use that word bommies in all the official stuff as well. It's such a popular phrase in the UN documents and so on. They're called bommies. The little bomblets from the cluster munitions are scattered and hidden in the Laotian soil. Although the number of deaths has fallen from 250 annually in the 1990s to around 50 annually these days, all uncleared land is potentially dangerous. And that is also true of all the countries I listed before.
You know what they could do? They could just all this uncleared land, just drop some bombs and it'll clear it out.
God, that's such an American solution. There is a UXO center in almost every major city in Laos that specializes in the disposal and management of UXO and promoting awareness of bommies, especially for children. More than 20,000 villages, or 1/3 of the total number of villages in the country, continue to be under the threat of UXO.
Jesus.
I mean, it's just hard to imagine.
Yeah.
How are kids supposed to go out and play in the fields? How's any farming supposed to be done? Anyway. Laos, the most bombed country in the history of the world, is now a communist republic that works very closely with Vietnam on most policy issues, which implies that the French might have gotten their wish. There is a greater Vietnam. The existence of Operation Barrel Roll was only confirmed by the CIA in 1997.
Right.
Mm.
Well, whenever you say the most bombed country in history, you need a caveat. So far.
So far. Yeah. We're looking at you, Gaza.
Mm.
Yeah, we need you to pull your socks up, knuckle down.
Yeah.
It's like you're not making an effort at all. But that's what I have to say about Laos. And now we move on to what's in the news. Sorry, what's new? It's called just what's new. Okay, just before every podcast, myself and Seamus, we put CIA and FBI into Google, and we hit the news tab, and we pick a few little stories we think might be interesting or funny. And we have not seen these. We have not told each other what these links are, and so we're finding out for the first time, like you are. And we're hoping that the surprise will inject an element of drama into what is, let's face it, my scripts, which tend to be a little greater than a Wikipedia page. So
I'll stop.
We're trying to be a bit more engaging. All right. Okay. What have you got for FBI?
So all three of mine are. I'm not even going to share the links, right? Just to give you what the head basic.
Yeah.
Because they're all been reported anonymous, ad nauseum, pretty much. The first kind of links both. The Pentagon had its 6th audit, and it failed yet again. So
team auditing the Pentagon.
Yeah, so it's kind of related to the whole how did all these bombs get by?
2.5 million,
yeah. So they failed again, and of course nothing gets we'll get it again next time, guys. Hey, bunch of overseers. So in other news, that the Republicans are pushing again to slash the FBI budget, based on the surveillance. Basically, they're upset because some of their folks have been picked on by the FBI. So now they're suddenly seeing the FBI for kind of what this show is about a little bit. That maybe they're not always on the up and up. Maybe they shouldn't be spying and doing fucking.
And again, we're seeing the shift of the right wing interest in America, which would always be very, very law and order obsessed.
Right.
They're kind of moving
until some of their guys get caught doing
some of their guys got caught.
Which, let's be clear, the people they're getting upset about probably did some fucked up shit. So let's just leave that there. But it doesn't mean the FBI still isn't fucking, a terrible.
The official jail position is everybody is innocent until proved guilty.
Exactly. And then, what was the third? I probably
remember them. You didn't have them.
No, I just memorized it because it was. I know. Because they keep bringing up Hamas being a threat to America.
Hamas, yeah.
And that the FBI is, running down leads. So, but the problem is, first off, I get what they're saying. Yes, people are going to get radicalized. They may be doing some things. Wonder why they would do that. But anyways, the concern is, there's going to be a lot of unjustified hate and a lot of egregious use of this kind of exploitation, much like what happened during 9/11. We're going to do probably an episode or two on some of those cases as well.
I remember,
or Guantanamo Bay. A lot of this shit.
Stuff.
Yeah. What I think 10%, less than 10% of the people that have been even put through a trial have been proven to be innocent of crimes of terrorists.
Hamas is no danger to Americans.
Yeah,
Hamas is a danger to Israelis in a minor way and Palestinians in a major way. That's fear of Hamas.
Yeah, you can be critical of Hamas, as much as you want to be critical of the IDF. So, but again, it's a problem. And also, there's, obviously there is a problem with anti-Semitism, but there's always been a problem with anti-Semitism, unfortunately. And it's just not.
Anti-Semitism is an issue. It's getting worse all over Europe, but almost like in America. But anti-Semitism, specifically referring to a racism directed against Jews, is becoming more of a problem in Europe. Like, you think Europeans would kind of know better, but it's happening.
It wasn't a problem that we propped up people that were anti-Semitic in Ukraine. But it's a problem.
Zelensky's Jewish, isn't he?
I don't know.
I think he's Jewish.
I know he has a lot of very Christian ideas, though, because
Christian
a lot of
meaning anti-Semitic, brilliant.
yeah, because I know a lot of the interventions and stuff like Cyclone a lot were on his part somewhat like Christian motivated. Like he had made some statements about this is the end times and bringing the Messiah and all that kind of happy stuff. We've had a lot of people like that in charge of the CIA recently, and it's kind of fucking scary, is what it is. So,
well, I don't know how you feel, Seamus, but I am very critical of the Israeli government. I think they're run by a gang of fascist wankstains.
Yep.
But I think Jews are amazing, and we need more of them.
Agreed. And you know who else is very vocal and has a lot to say about Yahoo and all those Yahoos there? Is the fucking Israeli people. There's a lot of people there.
Let's listen to them,
They're calling out their own government and protesting in Gaza right now.
Good for them.
Yeah.
Jews are amazing.
So, their media is actually being more objective than our fucking media.
It absolutely is, yeah. Although Netanyahu tried to shut down Haaretz. Did you see that?
Yeah.
And Haaretz said, come get us. Let's see what happens. So Haaretz are just doubling down. Good for you. Haaretz is an Israeli newspaper.
Unless you're part of Al Jazeera, and then you get your family bombed while you're reporting on the war. But
there's about more than 30 reporters, journalists have been killed in Gaza.
Yep.
But anyway, I have some CIA links.
Sweet.
And by that I mean I have some web pages on my bookmarks, not that I have some links to the CIA in a personal way. The first link is U.S. reveals...
You do now.
I do now, yeah. U.S. reveals excruciating 5-week negotiations behind Israel-Hamas deal. And the thing says, a secret cell headed by CIA and Mossad chiefs and multiple contacts between U.S. President Joe Biden and the leaders of Israel, Qatar, and Egypt, which is Misr, underpinned an excruciating 5 weeks resulting in the truce agreement, right? It's interesting to see how these things happen, right? And my next link is ex-CIA officer accused of drugging, sexually abusing 24 women pleads guilty. Wow, so we had that story during the last episode, and he's a former CIA officer accused of drugging and sexually abusing at least 24 women, which is 24 women too many, in my opinion, in multiple countries, pleaded guilty Tuesday to federal counts and faces more than 20 years in prison. So that's something, I guess. It's not nothing.
How much time?
20 years in prison.
Oh, well, that's not enough, but yeah.
I'm reading the rest of it, and the rest of it does not get any less disturbing, so I'm not going to read it out loud. But that guy should not be allowed out in normal society. He's dangerous. I mean, people who do this, who attack women like this, are not dangerous to women. They're dangerous. Do you understand?
Yes.
Right? They're dangerous to me and you as well, okay? I promise you it's not like... And the picture they have to illustrate the story is fantastic. Is exactly what he's like. He's like the guy in American Psycho, that character, right? Brilliant.
Christian Bale's character. Oh fuck!
Yes.
What was this? What was his name?
I can't remember his name.
I'm gonna have to look it up now. Go ahead.
Yeah, look it up. Go on, look it up. I'll wait. I'll wait. And apparently, he doesn't just have the look; he also has the ideology of Christian Bale's character in American Psycho. Bateman, yeah, that's what he looks like. Yeah. My third link is. And this is what it says. Blind Boy Boat Club. I got fired from a call center for printing out 93 pages about CIA crack cocaine smuggling.
Oh, so now, a whistleblower.
Yes. Blind Boy Boat Club is an Irish guy. And his name is weird because he was in a comedy rap group called the Rubber Bandits. And he was one of them. And he called himself Blind Boy Boat Club. And the other guy, I think, called himself Mr. Chrome. I'm not sure. But since then, this guy has developed a more serious kind of commentary type.
Sure.
Yeah, and he has a podcast which is quite serious, and it talks about mental health issues, it talks about LGBT issues, etc., etc. It's very interesting, and oftentimes he's very serious, but he still calls himself Blind Boy Boat Club because he thinks it's funny. But he one of the things he said is he what?
No, so it's BBC.
Oh yeah.
So if I say I love BBC, people will still look at me weird.
Yeah. I will watch like BBC. Yeah, for hours. He's amazing. He's fantastic. We're making a porn joke, right?
What?
Sorry. Okay. Well, he got fired from a call center for printing out 93 pages about the CIA crack cocaine smuggling on the office printer, and we will be talking about the CIA crack cocaine smuggling in the future. But that's an interesting little Irish angle on the CIA news, and that's it. That's my links.
Awesome.
And I believe that's our show.
Sure. Yep, that's
so thank you for joining us to talk about the Operation Barrel Roll in Laos, and we have some very interesting surprises and things you wouldn't expect, which is just another way of saying surprises in the coming episodes around Christmas time.
Should we share?
Well, Seamus, this is your baby, so there's no point.
My baby.
Yes,
it's our baby.
This is your baby. This is your project.
We have shared custody.
We do have shared custody, but
I'm just the residential parent.
Seamus is doing the work that's involved in these episodes. Let me put it that way. He's doing the work that was required to make these episodes.
Now you're pushing the blame on me. Yeah, okay.
You have to blame. I will take full responsibility for whatever happens. Go on. What do you want to tell them now?
Okay,
leak information.
Yes. We are doing a special Christmas episode. We're going to try to include some, obvious, what the show's about. Just Christmas. It'll be Christmas themed. We'll just leave that. That's going to be the next episode you should see.
There will be some songs from my album that I mentioned at the start.
Yeah.
Jingle balls, jingle balls.
And we're also trying to set up a possible live show before New Year's, where we will do some predictions. And
that is a plan we've had in the pipeline for a while.
Yeah. So that is the plan. Catch us out on Twitter and the other socials and stuff. And we'll try to keep you updated. Maybe at the end, maybe by the time we finish the Christmas special, we could tell you more. Maybe it'll be more soon.
I am very nervous about a live show. This, by the way, this is recorded. I don't know when this is going out, but a few days beforehand, maybe?
Yeah, it's next Wednesday, so yeah.
Okay, so this was recorded a few days before you're seeing it now. But the live show will make me nervous because I'm always afraid I'm going to say something that will destroy civilization. Because I could come out with literally anything.
This is true.
Seamus is good enough now to make me record this so we can cut out anything if I say like, oh man, I could start singing a Snoop Dogg song without the censorship. You know what I mean? That kind of thing. So
in the past, you have become undressed on a live show.
I have taken my clothes off before, but I don't want to scare anyone off.
We're not going to do that, Barry. We're not going to do that.
On a live show? How are you going to stop me? You're going to stop me, bitch.
There's ways. There's ways. There's ways.
How are you going to do it? How are you going to do it?
There's ways.
I want to take my hat off now. How are you going to do it?
Well, I just hit the button and your camera goes away.
Oh yeah, this is the recorded one. Well, on the live one, you won't be able to.
Yeah, I can. It just won't come out on the feed.
I'll just have to be like super quick, is it?
Yeah, something like that. Remember how I muted somebody on one of our shows and it became an issue?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So yeah.
But you never muted me when I was taking my shirt off.
No, I didn't. I was kind of wanting to see where it went.
You were kind of okay with it.
I was kind of okay with it, and then I really wasn't.
I remember you said it would have. We used to do a show called The Free Thought Prophet, and in one of those shows, you were like, you were sincere. Like, it's very rare that Seamus isn't like joking around. You said, "Please do not take your shirt off." Brother. Okay, sorry. Yeah. So that's what the plans we have in the pipeline, and I hope you will join us for that because it could be fun and interesting, and it'll be unpredictable at the very least. A live show.
Yeah, our new hashtag will be "We promise no nudity." So
don't promise something you can't deliver. Don't do that.
That's half my life. Anyways.
Over promise, under deliver.
Alrighty, folks. We'll see y'all in 2 weeks, and we'll be bringing in some Christmas cheer.
Yes, thank you. Good luck, guys.
Bye.